Hey, welcome back to those of you that are on our courageous generosity journey over this summer. Thanks for tuning in. It's been fun to kind of constantly be pouring into our hearts the power of generosity, whether it be generosity with our time, generosity with our words, generosity with our finances, right? And I know oftentimes when we jump in, and especially as a church or a nonprofit start talking about generosity, people automatically go to giving to your church, and that's a part of it, but it's bigger than that. It's a disposition towards other people, towards seeing how we can pour ourselves into other people. So I picked up a little article that I found this week, or actually I found it a couple weeks ago as we were, it might have been a month ago or so, but this little title is called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And number 2 is the law of giving. And this author was talking about how important and what an influence Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, had been on their life. And these 7 spiritual laws give kind of big truths that you can kind of see at work in the universe. And one of the laws is one that is called the law of giving and receiving. And I love kind of what the author says here at the beginning, because you might resonate with it. Because a lot of times when we talk about generosity, it's really easy to look at our financial circumstances and kind of push back and say, oh, you want me to give when I don't have anything to give. And so I thought this might resonate with some of us. It says, the author writes, I grew up in a household where I felt like there was never enough money. Then I spent 4 years as a poor college student before accepting my first newspaper reporter job where I made almost nothing. I didn't feel generous. I felt like I needed to be frugal to make ends meet. Now I wish I could go back and tell young, poor me to share what I could. My time, my attention, my meager means. I love that, to share what I could. My time, my attention, my meager means. And I just love this idea that we have to kind of broaden our eyes and broaden our minds to what it means to give, right? The author writes, feeling cash-strapped isn't the only reason generosity might not come easily at first. A friend wrote a few years ago about trying to give simple gifts to strangers and finding her fear of being refused paralyzing. But so what? Give to someone anyway, right? It's really easy to get caught up, right? But there's so many ways that we can be generous. Jesus said it this way in the Gospel of Luke, right? Way before Deepak Chopra talked about this. But in Luke chapter 6, verse 38, he says, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back. Now, I know a lot of us have heard this used to manipulate us into giving more at church, right? But I don't think Jesus is talking specifically about that. I think Jesus is saying there is a spiritual law in the world where you receive what you give, right? The energy, the love, the joy that you put into the universe circulates, right? It comes back. And we can give in lots of different ways. And that, I think, is the big question. Like, how can we put more generosity out there in the universe? How can we put more generosity in the world? How can we kind of, if you think of like the adage that money is in circulation, right? How can we print more of anything? How can we print more joy? How can we print more peace? How can we print more hope in the universe? Well, we do that by pulling it out of ourselves and giving it away. The same is true when it comes to things like money. So I love in this article, it says, how can we put the law of giving and receiving to work, right? So the law of giving and receiving is they're attached, right? The more kindness I give, the more kindness I receive, right? And so I love this. It says, wherever you go, give a gift. It can be a compliment or a prayer or some small material thing like a flower. Commit to circulating wealth, right? I love that. It says, gratefully, accept all gifts. Gratefully accept all gifts. That includes the gifts of nature, like sunlight and birds singing, as well as compliments and gifts from others. So to gratefully accept all gifts is to open our eyes to the generosity of God, right? Where do we see the beauty of love, the beauty of the divine presence in our lives, and receive those gifts with a sense of gratitude, and then as well receive those gifts from others. When other people give us a compliment, when other people come and meet a need, we just learn to say thank you. You know, in my profession, a lot of times people are so encouraging, and they come up and maybe after a message on Sunday, or maybe they read something that I put out there, you know, they'll send me a note, or they'll come up to me and say, oh, I just wanted to tell you how much that meant to me, or it was like I was just hearing right from God. And those are all wonderful things. And there was a time in my life where I'd always kind of deflect and I wouldn't know what to do. And then I read something and just kind of start studying, and like I just learned the power of saying thank you. So whenever those compliments would come, I would just say thank you. I would thank people for the encouragement. I wouldn't kind of deflect it and say, well, no, all glory to God. I mean, all those things that we tend to do in life. But just, it's important to receive with a sense of gratitude. So I love that. And then the third one, it says, keep wealth circulating by giving and receiving the most precious gifts: caring, affection, appreciation, and love. I love it. It's like what Jesus says. Certainly you should tithe, but don't neglect the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy, right? So I love that. Keep wealth circulating in our universe by giving and receiving the most precious gifts, like caring, affection, appreciation, and love. So that's a wonderful, wonderful little article. Good thoughts. Remember, the law of giving and receiving, what we put out there comes back to us in all different ways. Not just monetary, not just finances, but our kindness and our patience, our joy, our encouragement. All right, so be generous, and I'll see you hopefully this weekend, either in person or online.